All right, we are here today to demonstrate the myofascial lines for the practical assessment. And we're going to start with the superficial back line. The superficial back line has the postural functions of supporting the body in full extension and to prevent the tendency to curl over into flexion. The movement function is to create extension and hyperextension. Can you do that again? Again, please. Thank you. And the line starts at the plantar at the feet, and the calcaneus the heel, then it moves up through the Achilles to the gastrocnemius, which is your calf, then through to the hamstrings, the ischial tuberosity, the sacrotuberous ligament, the sacrum, and then erector spinae, up through the occipital ridge, back of the head, and then over the scalp and onto the brow. So next is the superficial front line. The postural function of the SFL is to balance the superficial back line. It's also to maintain balance in the sagittal plane. The movement function is mainly flexion. It's to create flexion at the trunk and hips and extension at the knee and dorsiflexion of the foot. Now the superficial front line starts at the toes, and then goes up the tibialis anterior, meets with the patella, and then through all four quadricep muscles, then the anterior inferior iliac spine, then the pubic tubercle, rectus abdominis, the abdominals, into the fifth rib, and then the sternal manubrium, and then it continues up through the sternocleidomastoid and back into the mastoid process. So now we're going to move on to the lateral line. The postural function of the lateral line is to balance the left and right activities. It also mediates force occurring along other lines, and it stabilizes limbs while upper body acts. The movement will look like this for the lateral line. And then the movement function is just a lateral bend, and it's to decelerate when standing. And it's neck, trunk, and hip abduction. Now to start off with where the lateral line takes place, it starts off at the base of the foot, and then it goes up the fibularis muscles, anterior ligament of the fibula, lateral fibular condyle, adductor muscles, tensor fasciae latae, gluteus maximus, iliac crest, lateral abdominal obliques, ribs, external and internal intercostals, the clavicle and manubrium, and then it goes up into the sternocleidomastoid, which is the side of the neck, and into the occipital ridge. So up next is the spiral line. The postural function of the spiral line is to maintain balance across all planes. The movement function is to create and mediate spirals and rotations in the body. Could you please demonstrate a spiral? Rotation. Thank you. And the start of the spiral line starts at the mastoid process, and then it goes down the splenius capitis and cervus, which is the back of the neck, and then onto the lower cervical spine and upper thoracic, and then to which goes through the rhomboids major and minor, medial border of the scapula. Can you please lift your arm? And then the serratus anterior, and then it moves on to the lateral ribs, and then across the abdomen, and then to the iliac crest, to the tensor fasciae latae, to the lateral tibial condyle, and then it wraps down through the first metatarsal base, through the bottom of your foot, comes back up, and then reattaches itself to the fibularis, the fibular head, and then through the biceps femoris.